Dynasty.
Welcome everybody back to Backyard Dynasty. As you can see, we're back in a backyard this time, fresh off the post-draft Airbnb trip. You guys already know it's Fleet.
It's your boy Willpower, a.k.a. Fancy Sons.
And Scanny over here in this corner.
And like I said, we're back. And we're back in the backyard. We're back in our natural habitat here, fellas. It's a little chilly out here today. But let's get right into it because we got a lot to cover today. A lot of NFL news coming up. We got week 1 coming up as well, and we just got a lot of like top news to cover in the league,
Right.
fantasy implications and stuff like that. So, without further ado,
There's been a lot going on.
yeah,
There's been a lot going on.
yeah, let's get right into it. All right, let's first start off really quick because we're gonna start hitting on these hard-hitting news. Let's talk Josh Jacobs being back for the Raiders. That's a big get.
Yes, signing a one-year deal for one-year deal for $12 million, up to $12 million with incentives.
Yeah. Well, let's start here. Were you guys ever really worried that he wasn't going to sign?
With that situation, not really, because I feel like the Raiders had, I wouldn't say they lost so much, but they definitely weren't, there wasn't a lot of upside to them this season. And if they lost Jacobs, then that upside that they could have had would just be gone. Like, you would consider the team would probably, I wouldn't say tank, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Jacobs didn't get signed, I could see them like trading away Tay to like get some type of draft capital back and kind of start a rebuild, especially after losing Darren Waller and then like just getting Jimmy as a recycled quarterback. And it's just like, damn.
Yeah. Build around Hunter Renfrow in that case.
Exactly.
Right.
So like, that's kind of the scenario I put in my mind if he didn't get signed.
Yeah. What about you, Scanny?
I thought he would come back, but it's the Raiders. And if somebody's going to screw something up, I promise you it's the Las Vegas Raiders. They seem to find ways to mess things up. And kudos to them for bringing Josh Jacobs back. For whatever reason, like $12 and $11 million is the threshold for running backs who hold out. We've seen Saquon for 1 year and $11 million. Now we see Josh Jacobs 1 year and $12 million. So if you have some running back controversy, just wait 10 plus mil, you'd be good to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Literally just pay him like another 1.2 million and then they'll break.
Pay him like a middle of the pack reliever.
Like what are we doing here? I mean, I get like the whole tax implications with, large salaries and stuff like that, but I mean, we're making this big of a fuss over $1 to $2 million. I mean,
right.
It almost seems like the running backs are like, I'll take my L, but just give me a little bit more.
Give me
a
little
bit. I don't want to do this the whole year. Can we just give me like 1.5 more?
Right.
And it's all bonus laden. Like they act like it's salary like base, and I don't know. It's just a weird thing. But going back to what we were saying, like there was a point where I was a little bit worried, and it was kind of in the beginning because I'm like, Raiders gonna suck this year probably. They're probably not gonna make the playoffs.
You're not right with Jimmy G.
Well, at the beginning. At the beginning, yeah, when he didn't even pass his physical when we first traded for him,
that was funny.
So this is what I'm talking about. If we go back in the timeline,
Jimmy
like right
Correa.
in the beginning, it was like, oh man, like Jacobs is probably sitting there like, they just ran me to the ground last year. We got a new quarterback that's injury prone. I'm in a contract year. They tagged me, like, is it worth for me to come back type of thing? And that's why I was worried. But then slowly as it kept going along, you just kept seeing reports like they're not that far off. They're gonna figure it out. And then I believe in the not the Dallas Cowboys game, but the one before that, Dave Ziegler, the GM, was signing autographs for the crowd, and somebody asked him like, "You better bring Jacobs back. What's up with Jacobs?" And he's like, "Don't worry." He's like, "Don't worry, we'll get it done." That's what he told him, and I took that, and the way he sounded was like, "We're not that far off. Like we're just working out the technicalities, and then he'll be back." And once he said that, I was like, "Okay, I feel much better." And then of course news broke, he's back, and so, but I will say though, Jacobs makes a big difference for the Raiders. I mean,
yeah, big time.
They were not going to be a playoff team if he didn't come. If he didn't come back, but with him back, they could be a wild card team with Jacobs.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah,
I think if things go, I mean, do you truly believe that though, or is that the 49er fan in you saying
that's how do I say this? Vegas is always right about a lot of things. Weirdly enough, Vegas is very correct on a lot of their over-under totals, and I don't want to be a person that pulls my predictions or my logic on something based on Vegas, but Vegas has the Raiders at 6.5 wins as a win total. 6.5 wins. And even if they eclipse the over by 1 game or by 2 games, that means they're an 8-win team. And being an 8-win team does not make you a playoff team. So because I really believe that Vegas knows something we don't all the time, they're always right in every situation. The house always wins. I don't think Vegas would put their own team at 6.5 wins unless they wanted that under to get cashed out. Because how many people in Vegas are going over on the Raiders right now? Over 6.5 wins.
Yeah.
Probably a lot, because there's a lot of Raider fans, a lot of Las Vegas loyals there.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to cash into the under. Guaranteed.
Yeah. I mean, that's logical. I mean, like you said, Vegas is rarely wrong, right? I mean,
Right.
they're
The
a money
house
making
always
business
wins, baby.
Get
The
it
house
down to
always
like
wins.
a T. It's crazy.
for a reason.
I'm hoping
But
that
their
John
offense
Lynch,
is just they have a lot of weapons though, man. I mean, when you talk about the top end talent that they have with Devontae and Josh Jacobs, and then hopefully Renfro, at least coming from a Raider fan, is going to be a lot healthier this year. Kind of gets back to what he was.
But outside of that, what is there?
I mean, most NFL offenses only have like 3-4 players.
Oh, the offense is good. The offense is good, yeah.
Yeah, the defense is the
defense,
problem.
Yeah.
The defense is the
It
problem.
has been for a while,
And
yeah.
we'll see. I mean, it's rinse and repeat every single year, and we're getting off track here, but it's rinse and repeat with the Raiders defense every year. A little bit of hope, get a couple names. We got Marcus Peters, a bunch of guys who've probably lost a step or two,
Yeah, definitely.
and there's a little bit of hope. Oh, they look good in preseason. The Raiders always do well in preseason the last few years, and then they just absolutely crap the bed during their regular season. So if they can get a middle-of-the-pack defense, now we're talking. Even just middle of the pack. That's all they got to do. But like I said, that's a tall task for the Raiders. But anyways, Josh Jacobs being back, huge lift, and especially for fantasy implications, because if we're going to tie it back to our fantasy league, Big Gucci's the number 1 pick overall
The first
on our last
overall.
pod, that we just released, actually, by the
Right.
way. So
Yes,
go check
indeed.
that out on our YouTube page. He didn't go Bijan Robinson. He didn't go Tony Pollard. He didn't go Garrett Wilson. He went Josh Jacobs, and this is before he had signed. So
He wasn't
shout
even
out,
signed. That's why I was like,
Crazy
yo.
move. That's
very
a
bold
crazy
move, very
move.
bold move. But you know what? Salute to Gucci's, because that was
Yeah.
he took a chance and it paid off well for him, and quickly. He didn't have
Yeah.
to deal with any anxiety or worry for much longer after that draft, because he signed very shortly after that. So
It's almost as if he knew something.
I think it's
Yeah.
almost as if,
Yeah.
it's almost as if he's a Raider fan.
You're
That's what,
right. A little bit.
It's really what it was.
I'm hoping as a 49er fan, we want John Lynch to speak as confidently into re-signing Bosa as your GM did Jacobs, because right now,
Yo, this is child's play right now. What are we doing? We're a week out.
No, that's a good
Defensive
segue.
Player of the
Let's talk
Year
about
is
it.
holding out right now.
Like, this is real child's play. He's the cornerstone of our defense. He was the literal foundation of what we've built on our defensive side of the ball. It's crazy. We went second overall for that man. Second overall. And he has done nothing. Honestly, he has done nothing but really outperform his
Make you guys
got
Super Bowl
his
contenders
worth.
every single year.
He's shown up in the playoffs. He has had consistency. He's coming fresh off the defensive player of the year with what? I think he had 18 and a half sacks.
He had a lot.
He had a lot. Don't fact check me.
So-
Fact check's gonna come.
Yeah.
let me
Your little soundbite.
but-
Sackaroonie.
he really I don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, let me say this, because for me, and I listen to 95.7 all the time, and that's the Niners station, and they've been spending weeks and weeks on this, and they've varied all the different people on there from really worried to not worried at all, and most of them kind of fell on that side of the scale of not worried at all. And if you still feel that way right now, I don't know how you can, because it's been one of those things now where, like, it's taking way too long. Like, when it comes out what the difference in asking prices were between the two, we're going to sit here and go, was it worth him waiting this long and having him not get any reps in practice, training camp, not being with the team, anything like that? And he already has a history with like soft tissue injuries and things in the lower half that have hampered him before. And now getting no reps and getting no snaps, before the season starts, that just raises his risk of getting and re-injuring one of those things when the season does start.
Right.
To me, it just makes no sense to take that risk over how much. That's the key thing for me. How much is the difference?
Just give him the Aaron Donald contract. Have him sign it. Move on. Let's play football. Come on.
Like,
See, but here's the thing, though, because it has so many implications on the salary cap in years going forward.
yeah, no,
right?
we have a lot of mouths to feed. We have a
It's
lot.
depending on it's probably has to do with the bonus structure and how much salary base it is per year, things along those lines. Because then you got Ayuk coming up,
True.
and if he has a great year, arguably he is a better route runner and receiver, prototypical receiver than Debo.
Yeah.
And when he's due for a next contract, which is what I believe next year, right?
Right.
That's a lot of money you got to tie up there, and you already have one of the highest payrolls in the league. You guys are paying McCaffrey the most for a running back in the whole league, right? He's like at 18 million or something like that.
He's at 16.
Yeah,
We're not even paying our quarterback anything. That's the crazy part.
Yeah,
We're
that's
paying
crazy too.
We're paying our quarterback
even
like
the market? What's
$700,000
the
for our
market?
quarterback.
What's the market for a defensive end? I think TJ Watt's currently the highest paid,
You're
right?
probably looking like a 5-year, $100 million.
Yeah, look that up.
Deal.
So let's see what TJ Watt got. Either way, it's got to be like 30-40 million a year.
Oh,
I don't
no.
think it'd be
Wow.
that high.
Okay.
It's probably 5 for 100, probably 20 million a year.
25.
The highest paid
Yeah,
is
if
Miles Garrett.
Yeah, what is he like?
25 mil.
25
That's an
mil.
average.
Yeah, that's about
25.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what $1.3 million a game. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is a lot of money, but defensive ends can game wreck
Yeah, no, they
to
can't.
a level that not many players in positions in football can.
Jeez, 25
So, but for
mil.
me though,
Yeah.
again, it goes back to what is the difference, and is that difference in money, pay scale, whatever it is that worth risking him re-injuring and
No.
affecting the season?
It's not.
To me, it's not. This should have been the longest it should have gone was after the second preseason game. That should have been it.
Right.
They should have ended it there and go, okay, fine. We're not budging any. You're not budging. You win. We want you back.
Right.
At
Get
that
back in
point,
the building. Let's get you out there for a drive. Or if not, if he doesn't even play the third preseason game, that's fine. But at least he's back in practice.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like getting the culture, getting the gelling of the defensive unit back together. To me, I just feel like that's really important. And then what? They're going to sign him 2 days before the Steelers game and then trot him out for only half the snaps.
Right.
Yeah.
Might as well have him at 100%. But that's the difficulty in these negotiations, right? It gets real, like a lot of gray area.
Yeah,
So-
man. And speaking of not getting a lot of, preseason reps, there's also some other news when it comes to the 49ers. And it brings me a lot of pain to say this. But yeah, if you haven't heard, Trey Lance got traded to the Cowboys for a 4th-round pick after the 49ers traded up in the 2021 draft to get Trey Lance.
How many first-round picks again?
3 first-round picks.
Those
And do y'all know what those picks became?
what those picks became, let them know.
Go ahead.
So, the Dolphins traded 2 of those picks to acquire one Tyreek Hill. You might have heard of him, one of the best receivers in football. Bradley Chubb, who was an outstanding linebacker / defensive end, really versatile player, still young. And with the 6th pick in the draft, 2022, they took Jalen Waddle. 2021, they took Jalen Waddle. And then they even got a 2nd-round pick, and they picked a linebacker whose name I'm not sure of.
That's real pain
But you
for the
give
Niner
up.
fans.
I mean, come on.
Coming from two Niner fans,
That's bad.
I feel like, are we in agreement that this has very well been one of if not the worst trades
No, it's the worst trade
in a way
we've
in
ever seen.
in like NFL history,
Yeah, no, it's
let
the worst
alone
we've
draft
ever-
day history.
And
And
then-
it's like we just got to take it to the chin.
But why trade? Why at this point? Why trade him for a 4th-round pick? Because he's 23. You've only seen him play 4 NFL games. You're gonna trade him to one of your rivals of rivals. They're like this is Giants Dodgers-esque of the 80s. Cowboys Niners. They don't like. These are 2 teams that it might be a little more friendly now, but this is a rivalry.
Yeah.
And you're gonna trade this guy who's got a lot of upside for a 4th-round pick. And let's be honest, what's a 4th-round pick gonna be? Maybe a 2nd-string defensive player that we get that has a couple good years.
Probably like
Why?
another
I
corner.
mean, maybe to
Can I-
cut.
let
Maybe
me
to
tell
cut
you
some
why.
salary, man. But
Let me tell you why. Well, that's one of them. Salary certainly plays a part into it. First one is he's dominating all of the media coverage. And it's not his fault. It's not Lance's fault, right? But the situation and how much they invested into him and how it's been handled with the bad luck of injuries, and then how everyone says, or a lot of people have an opinion on how Kyle in the front office has managed him. He's dominating all the media. Literally everything coming out. Nobody was even covering Bosa's holdout for the majority of this time because it's like, oh, he'll sign, but let's talk about this quarterback situation. Is Purdy going to get back in time? Oh, now it became Darnold Lance
yeah,
for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So it was going to continue. It was going to continue into the season. Oh, what if Purdy goes down? Who's going to step up? Yeah, they have Darnold listed as number 2, but is it going to be Lance one week? Is it going to be Darnold the next? So if you're sitting there and you already have determined, which I think Shanahan and company did, that he's not who they thought he was going to be, and he's never really going to have a big role as long as other people are healthy, and they've already liked Darnold more than him, cut bait. Because you don't want the focus to always be on a third-string quarterback. What team wants to deal with questions about a third-string quarterback when you have a Super Bowl-ready team to go now, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is you trade him for a 4th-round pick to a rival because they really do not believe in him. Why would they trade him to a team that they absolutely despise and have history with if they think that he's going to end up being what they thought he was going to be, right? Cut bait with him now, get rid of him. You'll take the 4th-round pick because you don't think that he'll ever materialize into something that's going to bite you in the butt when he does, or if he ever gets a chance to be a starter.
Right. And I mean, to your point, like, Dak isn't going anywhere anytime soon, to be real. This man's getting paid $60 million next year, 59 to be technical. But, like, that's their franchise guy. Like, he's only been in the league for 8 years, and he has many more years to play. Now, to see if he gets a new contract with Dallas, we don't know, but they can, like, he's not, like, Trey's not going to get any run anytime soon as it comes to, like, actually stepping on the field like that. They're probably going to get to, like, I can see him going bouncing between, like, the practice squad and whatnot to get those reps, but he's not hitting the field, especially with the season that Cooper Rush had last year. They went 5-1 with him.
Exactly.
So it's like, that's really their project. And to see, like, that's the long play. That's the long play for sure. But I mean, much credit to Dallas. I mean, I guess they got a value considering how much was given up for him. So
go ahead.
I don't want the 49ers to ever get another 3rd overall pick because the last 2 have been Trey Lance and Solomon Thomas. And they have had
Solomon.
He was another guy that the Niners traded after a couple of really bad seasons. And he had so much hype around him. And he came up, and maybe it's time to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, are the 49ers not developing players? Is that what the issue is? Because these are really talented guys that aren't really, I mean, obviously with Bosa and Debo and Kittle, you can make the counterpoint, but a couple guys, I seen a stat recently. I'll try to say this in the most simple way I can. I saw a video that broke this down from the last 10 drafts. There's a stat in baseball called WAR, and I guess you can apply it to any sport. It just shows how many wins above replacement of league average that a certain player offers. So the best player in baseball, Shohei Ohtani, has a current WAR of around 9.9. The Angels have won 10 more games because they have Shohei, right? I seen a stat that showed all 30 teams in the NFL the last 10 years, all the players that they drafted, a total WAR basically of those players. And the Niners were 27th out of 30. So
sounds about
right. With a negative WAR, very much negative.
Right.
And so it's just, is it the Niners? Is it their scouting team? Is it their developmental process? It's a lot of questions.
It's probably a combination of a lot of things and bad luck injury wise, right? I mean, that always comes into play. And the thing is also with drafts across all sports, the hit probability is not very high. People put so much value, especially in football. There's so much value in picks, which drives me crazy because you think about like what the Raiders gave up for Devontae, which I think was maybe like 2 firsts or something along that line. People were like, oh, that's too much. I'm like, forget those firsts. That's arguably the best wide receiver in the league.
Right.
That's worth 2 first-round picks because those 2 first-round picks could come to nothing. Right. Come to nothing, and more often than not, they do. Especially
you can whiff on the draft. Anyone can be a whiff in the draft. Yeah. Like, you never know. Any player that is drafted, no matter what spot, can flop. Like, you truly never know, except the team that drafts them.
And you look across all sports, it's like that. Like NBA, the hit rate in NBA is so low, it's ridiculous. If you look at some drafts, you'll look at names, and you're like, I don't even know who that is. Yeah. Most of the draft, for most of them. So, and MLB, what are we drafting a 15-year-old? I'll see you in 6 years.
Honestly,
right. Just throw you to the minors, and we'll catch you soon.
We'll see you later.
Somebody from Puerto Rico and in the organization for 10 years. I was just going to add to the Trey Lance point. It's crazy how we drafted Trey Lance. We think all these he's a savior or he's our guy. And it looks more so that he's going to have a career path similar to someone like Deshaun Kaiser from the Browns, who you might remember a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Or I think there's another player, Joshua Dobbs, maybe. Just almost like a journeyman backup player, And hopefully he turns it around. Hopefully he finds an opportunity elsewhere. Because
hopefully he's not a Josh Johnson.
From the human aspect, you're 23 years old. Your life is on social media. You're already not hated, I wouldn't say, but disliked pretty heavily by a fan base.
Already labeled a bust.
Yeah, and then on top of that, I really feel bad for Trey Lance because he posted a photo on Instagram a few months ago with Mahomes while they were working out, and it was clear that his hairline was really receded, and the comments just ate him alive about that.
Yeah.
And I have not seen that man's hair in like 3 months. Every time he put a video, he put a video working at the Niners facility back in like June.
It's got like a headband on.
Had a beanie on. Yeah. He had a beanie on. I'm like, bro, it's 99 in Santa Clara. You got a beanie on.
Yeah.
So he's just been going through a lot. And from a human aspect, I hope that he finds something good because at this age, man, you start getting beat down like that, it's hard to get back up.
No, I totally agree with you. And one thing, let's close on this. Lance has been the consummate professional throughout the whole thing.
Throughout the whole
like
thing,
he's
no,
been,
tip
done
my hat.
anything to garner any disrespect his way because he's been a professional. He's handled the criticism. He's been a great teammate. He's publicly in his press conferences, he said all the right things. So there's nothing but positivity about the way he carries himself and who he is as a person.
Yeah.
So it's just unfortunate what's happened to him so far.
Yeah. Man.
Let's transition to this really quick, and then we'll take a break and we'll come back. But since we're talking about the Cowboys, let's talk about a little culture move that they did. And the Cowboys haven't been the greatest culture in the last few years, is what I'll say, at least from my observations. But I think that this move that they did was just a really, really cool opportunity and a different angle that I don't think I've seen any team really do in the last few years. So they traded for Trey Lance, and he was already labeled basically as a quarterback 3. They already had a QB3 on their team named Will Grier. And they basically told Will Grier, we just traded for Trey Lance. He's going to be the quarterback 3. So we're going to cut you in the next few days. But we have one more preseason game coming up against the Raiders. Let's have you. We're going to basically give you an audition for all the other teams in the league. You can play the whole game against the Raiders. And then after that game, we're going to cut you. At least you have one more audition to play the whole game, show yourself, show what you got, your potential, and go out there and basically make a name for yourself. Super cool gesture from the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, whoever ordered that. That's a super W for culture. Not only that, but it became that much more of a W because he went out and absolutely killed it.
He did. I was
absolutely killed it. Yeah, can you pull up the numbers for me?
He went 29 for 35 passes for 305 yards and 2 touchdowns with no interceptions. On top of that, he also racked up 53 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground.
Yeah.
Yo.
300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 50 yards rushing. He would have had a monster fantasy week if that was in the regular season.
Ball out, young man.
So shout out to the Cowboys. Shout out to Will Grier for making the most of his opportunity. I just wanted to touch on that really quick because
I think he's actually, I just read it. He's signed with the Bengals.
Oh wow.
Bengals practice squad, I believe. Yeah. So hey, look, he made the most of his opportunity, and shout out to the Cowboys because that's a nice little touch from them to be able to. They could have easily. I mean, people are cutthroat in the sports industry, man. They could have just been like, "We just traded for Lance. See you later, man. You were great. Have a good one." But they already knew who their quarterback, and Cooper Rush has already cemented himself. It helped that he already cemented himself as the backup.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you got Dak there, and they're like, "He's coming in. Let's just let him have this game to be able to carve a future out for himself," and he balled out. So that was a really cool little touch from the Cowboys there.
Yeah, man.
So shout out to the Cowboys for that. But let's transition to a little Jonathan Taylor talk, because to me, out of all the stories we talked about, this one is the one that carries the most like emotional type of weight to it, because I feel like there's something. I mean, there is something really shady and something very spiteful going on, in my opinion. Right. So Jonathan Taylor, right, shows up to camp. He was holding out, right? Then all of a sudden he's got some injury that they said ankle, leg, something along those lines. And then they place him on the PUP list, which would automatically rule you out for 4 games, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Then they tell him find a trade partner. Then a couple days later give him a deadline to find a trade partner. Find no trade partner. And now they basically say, we're just going to keep you on the PUP list, son.
Yeah. And because of that, he still has to sit out those first 4 games of the season, regardless, even if he's healthy or not. So, like, it's just a messy situation for both sides. It's a lose-lose. It literally, like, JT doesn't get to play and obviously doesn't get his money. And the Colts are just losing a very core piece of their team that they're not willing to trade. And it's just so, ugh. And the thing is that I heard today the GM was saying, I don't know the GM's name.
Jim Irsay.
That he's the owner.
Oh, that's right.
GM.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. The GM's name I do not know. But he had a press
fleet
conference.
caption. Yeah, name. There it is.
He had a press conference
Ballard.
today. Chris Ballard. Yes, at a press conference today said himself, it sucks all the way around, and basically said that relationships can be mended. They can be reconstructed. And I'm sitting there like, I don't know about this one, my guy. Like, and he has the nerve to say that, but he's one of the people that is a part of the problem. He's a guy that plays a role into him getting paid. But I don't know the extent of like what's going on in the background. But basically, like, I don't know if this one can be mended. If you have someone publicly disrespect you like that, the way Jim Irsay did, that's hard.
Jonathan
That's
Taylor
hard.
reading those comments.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Seriously. I mean, it's like that's past. It's irreparable. In my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have public comments from, like, the owner like that. And basically, Irsay was disrespectful. Let's keep it real.
No, he was, bro. You did not need to just –
he stepped over that line.
And it was all because there was just reports that Jonathan Taylor joined that Zoom call that they had between the running backs. And that's it. He didn't say anything publicly. He was just helping support someone that, you know, that he wanted to – he was supporting a colleague who is literally in the same position as him. So this in turn affects him as well when it comes to the market.
Yeah.
If they were to have found a trade partner, are there any teams that you could have seen him thriving on from both just a football perspective and a fantasy perspective? Ugh.
Well, I mean,
A lot
I know
of crowded backfields out there, but
there are.
Basically
I know the
all of them now.
I know the Dolphins were like in high contention to make an offer, and Green Bay. So like
Green Bay would have been a mess.
I heard
they made
Three-headed
an
monster
offer.
of fantasy manager.
Three
pain.
RB1 type players.
I heard they made an offer, and I'm sure they would probably send Aaron Jones for him.
Did you see what they asked for the Dolphins? From the Dolphins?
2 Jalen Waddles, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
that was
wanted
essentially
Jalen Waddle in return for him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are we doing? I mean,
No,
dude, running backs don't even go for that much in terms of trade value, let alone Jonathan Taylor. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's a great running back, don't get me wrong, but he's one-dimensional. He doesn't really catch the ball, in my opinion. Isn't that multi-dynamic type of running back, and he just kind of runs between the guards, runs between the sticks. Like,
That's the Dolphins' identity. The wide receivers on each side, like Tua plus Waddle plus Tyree. That's the whole Dolphins.
yeah,
offense.
it is.
even
And
if
fast running backs that can go edge to edge. Like,
and even if the Colts got Waddle, you would get a Waddle that doesn't want to be there.
yeah, I mean,
it's business.
I mean, he'd have to come to terms with the fact that that's
Yeah,
where he's got to
it's
play
business.
now.
It is business,
So-
but like,
and he's
damn.
young. It's not like he's just gonna throw in the towel.
Touche.
I feel like that fit wouldn't even work though. And I mean, we haven't even
No,
seen
yeah.
Richardson yet, so I can't speak too much on it. But
Yeah. I think he's gonna have a good year though. Just speaking like from a fantasy standpoint, I don't think they're gonna do well this year as a team.
right,
But I think he'll be a decent little maybe 30 in our league, like a 36 to 3,800 point quarterback.
right,
Yeah, like a little baby what Justin Fields was this past.
Yeah, he'll be
this
like
past year.
he'll be like 14th quarterback, in the league, something along those lines. But yeah. Anyway, so Jonathan Taylor, we send our love and support to you because you're being done wrong right now.
Nah, bro.
He's getting the worst of it, man. Like, he really is. And that little Zoom call that those running backs had, by the way, super cute. Those guys are adorable.
I'm like, oh,
Those guys are adorable. You know what they said on that Zoom call? Saquon was like, "Hey, listen, bro, they offered me $2 more million. I'm taking it." And Jacob's like, "They offer me 1.5 more. I'm taking it." And they're like,
Technically,
all right, this meeting's over.
technically, they only offered him 900,000 more. His franchise tag was 10.1, and he paid him 11 million. And it's in incentives.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So it's like, what are we talking about here? Not Jonathan Taylor. Josh Jacobs at least got like 12.
Yeah,
He got the highest one.
Yeah.
I know we cruising low with Dalvin is at like 9, I
Right.
think.
Yeah,
But,
the franchise tag is so like OP in my opinion. I feel like that should not be allowed in sports.
No, yeah.
Like
Just do 1-year deals with players. Like, what are we doing?
Baseball doesn't do that. Football doesn't do that. Like, I mean, basketball doesn't do that. A franchise, I feel like we've outgrown as a society and as a football culture the need for a franchise tag.
I mean, we were talking about this a couple of episodes ago. Like that, the new CBA, it's not in favor of the running back just the way it is. And it sucks, but that's just a part of that contract that people, I guess, didn't read that in-depthly, you know? Like,
well, they also just wanted to play.
Yeah.
That's the thing, but it was written in the CBA the whole time. This was going to happen.
Yeah.
No matter what. Like, with the writing and the way that they set up the logistical parts of the CBA, this was going to happen the whole time. But now that it's happening, we're like, damn, this ain't right.
The reps,
but like the people that wrote of the CBA was like, we got to cut costs somewhere. Like, who can we make more affordable and not as essential? And if you look at the running back like position, just the position itself, it's definitely become devalued because now it's just a committee everywhere. Like we just said, no matter where JT was going to go, it was going to affect everyone that he went to because it was going to take his value down a ton. It's not like he was going to show up in like Arizona and they were going to like ship Connor off and then he was going to have the whole backfield. Like, no matter where he went, he was going to have to compete with, whether it was Miami, Mostert, Jeff Wilson, like these different players.
Who just went on the
IR.
Is it the pup list?
IR. He went on the IR.
4 games he's going to be out for at least.
Yes, yeah. But either way, he's still looking at a timeshare no matter where he goes, right? And so shout out to all the JT fantasy owners because I know you're hurting right now.
It's tough. It's tough. You hold out hope all that time and get something done. I was watching the fantasy flock and he was counting down to 4 p.m. Eastern, just like, come on. A lot of people have drafted JT in a lot of like best ball drafts, and best ball for those of you that don't know is a form of fantasy where you just draft one team all year and it doesn't change ever. You can't edit your lineup. It just stays that way. So you got to be really mindful about injuries, about players that have bye week issues. So if you drafted Jonathan Taylor in 50 different best ball leagues, all worth $100. You just said goodbye to $5,000.
Yeah.
Wow. So to all the owners, but especially those best ball ones. That's
no,
tough.
I don't feel bad for best ball owners because that's a stupid way of playing fantasy.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's a money grab. It's a money grab. That's all it is.
But don't feel bad for you.
To add one more point about
Play
the
in a real
Jonathan
league.
To add one more point about the Jonathan Taylor thing, I would propose a question. Do we see a possibility of him playing for the Colts again after this season?
Ooh, after this season?
Well, okay, this season and after this season, because he could just do the straight up, my calf hurt, like I don't think I can go this week. But he's not that type of guy to do that to his teammates, so that's why I'm like, do you think you're gonna see him play this year?
I think we see him play this year at some point. I don't think we see him play on the Colts next year. I think after this year they find a trade partner or they just cut bait with them and just release him, take the cap hit, and move on with it. But I do think he plays against it this year just because
he has to fulfill.
He's gonna be on the PUP list for 4 weeks. His injury will be healed by the end of that. Like he's already close. He's already like a week or two away from that.
And I think you have to play at least 6 games for it to count as a season.
Yeah, and like if he does have any sort of energy left in him to try to make things right and repair relationships there, he'll want to see what it's like with Richardson at quarterback and see if he feels promise with the team going forward, if it's going to be somewhere that he can succeed. So I think he'll want to get on the field, test it out, see what his situation is currently type of thing. But past this year, with what the owner said, I just don't see him being able to do that long term. If he does, it's another short-term deal again, just because they couldn't find anyone.
Yeah.
I think he does have to play this year too, just because we've seen the running back market. Like you got somebody like Dalvin Cook, who literally the last like 3 to 4 years, I wouldn't call him dominant over the entire stretch, but there have been stretches where he was dominant, and he definitely was serviceable even last season.
Fairly consistent.
Yeah, like pretty consistent, dominating back. And this year we see he's 27 years old and nobody wants him, and he finally gets a deal with the Jets at the end of free agency. But for a player that's in this position like Jonathan Taylor, I'm not going to call it an audition year because he's proven what he can do. But if you have a year off, we have seen the running back market is not like it used to be. They'll just draft somebody else, or they'll just sign somebody else like a David Montgomery type.
Yeah, agree.
You know?
No, I totally agree because the thing with the running back position, like we said, it's become different, but it's very much a what have you done for me lately? If you miss a whole year, nobody cares anymore. It's like, oh, I ran for, however many yards the year before. Okay, that was the year before last year.
Right.
You didn't do anything last year. So then all of a sudden your value is literally determined year to year. Like if McCaffrey goes out and lays a dud this year, nobody's gonna want to trade for him. You know what I mean? Like no matter what he does. If Derrick Henry was like all of a sudden, nah, well he's kind of an anomaly. But if even if Derrick Henry took a year off, his value would plummet somewhat. You know what I mean? Like it's very much a what have you done for me lately? Whereas like wide receivers, they get multiple chances. I feel like, dude, how many teams, and shout out to Corey Davis for retirement. Happy for you. He got a bag and dipped out. Was like, I'm done with this. But how many chances did he get? He was a super high draft pick. He went to like three different teams, was given starter reps and different stuff like that, and got 80+ million out of his career because of it.
He's already retired. Already
So that's the difference of what I mean in the skill positions. It's like there's so much more leniency and like second chances for wide receivers, quarterbacks, tight ends, all these different positions. But the running backs very much what you do last game, Yeah.
And this is the lifespan too. I feel like Derrick Henry hasn't been a pro football player that long. And it's fair to say we've reached the second half and almost the later second half of his career. He's probably got 2 to 3 years left to really be a running back, and then either retirement or try to find a home elsewhere and get minimal reps. But like, the lifespan for these guys is crazy.
I mean, take a look at Todd Gurley, bro. He got to go like maybe 3 to 4 years, and his knees gave out. Like man, like literally.
Yeah.
What was once a 30 years old, it's now like 28. Like the running back age is like, you hit 28 now. It's like you're almost 30. I mean, basically, it was like, oh, you are 30. Now you're gonna decline.
And not to mention, Leonard Fournette is still a free agent too, and he's not. He's
and
like
Kareem Hunt.
He's 27. Yep. They're. I don't think Kareem. Do you think is Kareem that old? Is he?
No, he's younger for sure.
Younger than 27.
I don't know about that because he was on the Chiefs. Like, I don't know. I feel like Kareem's been
they're
around.
probably
he's been around for. Oh, yup, he's 28.
Yeah, he seemed like he's up there.
And how old is Fournette?
They're actually the same age.
Oh, they're the same age.
So
Fournette just looks 30 years older.
Yeah,
that's why. That's why I
said
college.
That. Yeah,
he's had a beard since like his freshman year. Yeah. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah. But again, I mean, we're talking about two running backs who were running the league, dominating. When Fournette was in Jacksonville, he had some really good years.
I was just about to say, shout out to
Even in Tampa, he was pretty solid.
And in Tampa, he was good as well. And then Kareem, of course, with the off the field stuff kind of affected his career. But I mean, he was dominating at that one point too.
He was so nice on the Chiefs.
Bro. He was super nice on the Chiefs, man.
So nice, bro.
But again, look at how successful the Chiefs have been. Replace the running back, keep it moving. I mean, they have arguably the GOAT behind the center, but you know what I mean? Still, again, it's that running back position. But
can we just talk about how strange the tenure of Leonard Fournette was on the Buccaneers? Because I feel like he was the most effective fantasy football player who only averaged like 3 yards per carry. And then he suddenly became like a passing back because he wasn't really a guy you could throw to in Jacksonville. He was just like a downhill runner. But he went to Tampa. He's getting like 8 receptions a game. And when he did rush, his stat line was like 8 rushes for 21 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
But he was still effective. He was definitely like a top 15 running back.
He won me a game. It was a Thursday night. I think it was a Thursday or Monday night matchup against New England. And that was when he was on the Bucs and Tom Brady's return to Foxborough. But he won me a game because he had so many receptions.
Right.
He had like big chunk plays. Not even big chunk plays. They were just consistent. He was like 28 for like 115.
Yeah.
28.
Also, his usage was what was so strange. Like you were saying, like he got 28 touches that game.
Yeah.
But it was like he'd get 5 touches for like 5 straight games, and then they'd use him as a workhorse for like another 3. And then he'd go back, and it was just so like hit or miss.
Right. Yeah.
But when he got his opportunities, Fournette was always a good fantasy player.
Yeah.
If he was going to get 15 to 25 touches a game, he was going to get you in double-digit points guaranteed.
That boy was nasty at LSU too.
He was nasty at LSU. LSU has had some.
He was a grown man playing amongst boys. Like
they've had some crazy like star players.
Yeah, they have.
They might be.
They've produced some good talent over there.
Yeah.
Who are? Not want to get off topic, but I'm just gonna throw this out real quick.
We got pretty off.
We got pretty off topic. Are you taking if you can take an all-time LSU offense versus an all-time Alabama offense? Who you taking?
Oof. I gotta say, Joey B. When Joey B was on there, slinging it to Jamar and Jefferson.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's tough. That's tough. Recency bias tells me LSU, but I think if we were to actually flesh it out, I feel like Alabama might have the edge.
Yeah, because you already
because there's a lot of different things on the offensive line and defensive line that you just talking about offense, or you talking about teams?
I was talking about offense, but
okay, yeah. I mean,
full team. Bama
it's so
probably,
close. It's so close. But yeah, I feel like recency bias would tell me LSU just because of those three people that you just said.
Honorable mention the Clemson offense with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, that was pretty nasty too.
Yeah.
But
yeah, since we're talking about Jefferson and who's the other one? Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Talking about wide receivers, let's talk about one wide receiver, the only cold white boy wide receiver in the league, Cooper Kupp, having a little bit of a setback with that hamstring.
Yes, he tweaked his hamstring in practice today, coming from the GM, the very owner that owns Cooper Kupp. My keeper, my boy. We pushed you too hard. No, he tweaked his hammy in practice again today. He tweaked it, I want to say, at the beginning of August. They were projected to he was projected to be well back in time by the time the season starts. And he tweaked it again. So it sets him back. He is considered day to day.
Which means week to week.
Which means week to week, yeah. So
how many games does he miss? Really quick.
7.
Ooh, that's steep.
That's
and for the season, not from right now.
Oh no, I'm talking about for this hamstring injury.
Oh, for this,
he's gonna one. I would say he can sit out week 1. He's probably going to sit out week 1.
So you think he's back week 2?
I think he's back week 2.
I think he's back week 3 or 4. I think he misses a couple weeks just because he's already had a setback now, and I think that they play. And the thing is, the Rams suck this year.
Yeah, to your point,
they're going to be terrible. And you know what? If they get off to a terrible start, they may just say, "Oh, it's worse than we thought. Oh, he's going to sit out 6 weeks." And then all of a sudden they're 1-5. Oh, right. he still needs a couple more. We're going to put him on the IR. Right? I can see him really like milking it, not to, do anything to your fantasy league.
It just seems like this could drag on, and
it seems like they could play really smart.
It could be like a phantom injury that and now we have reports from Kelly Stafford on her podcast that Matt's not really gelling with the younger players, and it seems like
that was crazy.
That was.
She's like, he don't even know how to pronounce their names,
right? And
I was like,
you got to put my man on blast like that. Like,
can you pull up the Rams additions versus subtractions? I just seen on NFL Network they put a chart up. Mm-hmm. They've added like one player. A free agent, and they Bobby Wagner gone, Jalen Ramsey gone. I mean, they have like 14 subtractions this season. Yeah. There's not,
like I said, it could become something that they become very academic about the way that they go about Cooper Kupp's injury,
right?
And all of a sudden he's missed 6 to 8 weeks,
mm-hmm.
right? Like, week 1 comes around, they got blown out. We're gonna place him on the IR. You got something there?
I'm trying to find it.
Okay, no worries.
But just know it was a lot of people going out and not a whole lot coming back in. So this that team,
it's kind of a they like pushed all their. We saw this coming, right? Yeah. Like we all knew this was going to happen, right? Because they pushed all their chips in. They got Ramsey. They got all these different pieces to make a Super Bowl push. You know what I mean? Right. They won the Super Bowl, and now it's like they traded so many picks. Like all their people are aging. Like Stafford's. How many years does Stafford have left? Maybe 2-3 years.
You don't make it very comprehensive.
It's okay.
I have to read an article.
The point is they had a lot of people out the door and a lot of young new people that Stafford doesn't know coming in. So it's crazy. It's crazy. But so Los Angeles versus the Rams versus the Niners. First week 1. Cooper Kupp will not be there for sure for that one, I think. And then I think I see.
Wait, what?
Oh, sorry, my bad. I'm looking at week 2 right now.
I was like, wait a minute.
That's on me.
We play Pitt.
That's on me. Rewind. Los Angeles at Seattle. That's my fault. But still, even in week 2, I don't see Kupp being back for that. So I think he comes back week 3 or week 4, just because I see them being super careful with it.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We want you back, Coop. Please. Yeah.
Who else is in that receiving room? I know Van Jefferson is still there. Ben Skoranek.
It's looking bleak,
It's looking real bad.
That was an elbow deep grab. God.
Ben Skoranek.
Ben Skoranek?
Yeah, he's
Tyler Higbee going to be tight end 1 this year.
Yeah, honestly.
Who has Higbee in our league? Who knows?
That dude's going to give you like 3 massive weeks and then just 13 or 14 duds.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about week 1, let's talk week 1. We covered all of the news stories, at least that we had on our list that we wanted to talk about. But let's talk week 1 here, and we'll just kind of run through the matchups, and we'll just really quick say who we think's going to win, what we think's going to be the standout from that. Let's start with Thursday night, which, by the way, fellas, it is the 31st right now. On Thursday, September 7th, we are in football season. Let's go. Let's go.
I'm gonna be watching that game from Primal Steakhouse in Las Vegas, baby.
Go ahead. Oh, dude, what a
Give me
shot
give
from
me the
Scanny.
steak and give me the prime and the lobster. Why
It's
not?
football
Look at
time,
him. Little
baby.
surf and turf for the Thursday night. So Thursday night, Detroit is in KC, taking on the Chiefs. Who do we got here?
It's a strange matchup for the opening.
It is.
It
Yeah,
is.
I would agree
Night.
with you. Yeah.
But it's a very intriguing matchup. So I kind of like it.
No, it's fun. Yeah.
But last year when it was the Rams and the Bills, for like the gravity that took, that was a big season opener. That was big.
Dude, that was when the Bills just absolutely slaughtered everyone for the first 5 weeks. They massacred every team they played.
Yeah. I see them doing it again this year, honestly.
Yeah.
It is, well, let's stay here. First of all,
Stay on
Wait.
Stay on
stay
task
on
challenge.
task, yeah.
Impossible.
Literally, Backyard Dynasty, the show about tangents.
Honestly.
One storyline that I would
As
actually
we go,
Just about the game.
randomly just go.
No, it's about the game.
Oh, okay.
one storyline.
That he was
Once
just
upon a time.
inserted a tangent as we're talking about
in
it.
the parking lot. No, one storyline I would like to follow for this game is Jared Goff. Is Jared Goff's performance in season opener? He had a hell of a season last year. This is a statement year for him. Like really and truly, if he's gonna maybe extend with the Lions, although I don't think he's their future, but if he wants to get to another team, he has to ball out this year. And to go into Arrowhead against its reigning Super Bowl champs with like the up and coming Lions, I just think that's a very interesting storyline to follow and see if he arrives and see if he shows up and shows out, because he's been in these wild games. Remember when he played? Sorry, I didn't mean to play footsie. Because when he was on the Rams, he played in the highest scoring game we've had in the I think the final score was 51-54.
Yeah, it was.
Against Patrick Mahomes at the LA Coliseum. This could be a 2.0 of that
It's a
matchup.
fantasy dream.
It's gonna be. There's gonna be a
is.
lot of points in this game, so that's why it's gonna be exciting.
But who wins?
Chiefs. I
Chiefs?
think the Chiefs are gonna win.
Yeah,
Chiefs are
I got the Chiefs too. I mean, it's hard to go against the Chiefs, right?
In
At
Arrowhead.
home in Arrowhead, you got
There's
Mahomes,
some
right?
final scores around the table.
Ooh,
I'm gonna go Chiefs also. I mean, the script writers go crazy in this game. I think it'll be kind of close, but
I'm gonna go 31-20 Chiefs.
okay.
I'm gonna go 28-21 Chiefs.
I'm gonna go 38-28 Chiefs.
Yeah.
I think it's high score. I think Chiefs make a.
Really quick on Goff though. He had a sneaky good year last year. The consistency wasn't always there, but he ended up. I think he was close to top 10 quarterbacks in fantasy.
He was,
last
he
year.
was your guy, right?
I had him for a while.
we-
dropped him, and then Nest picked him up and played him in the championship.
Yeah, we kind of.
That's crazy.
Nobody last year would trade with Fleet because, as we all know, he had won 6 years in a row prior to that.
Quarterback 7,
And so we did not trade with him. We kept him stuck with Geno Smith and Jared
Russell
Goff.
Wilson, Jared Goff, and
But Jared
Geno
Goff
Smith.
lifted you out of a dark place.
He
so
did.
Shout out to
I
JG,
played him, but
man.
it was just like I couldn't put my season on Jared
on
Goff's
him.
back. And the weeks that I did drop him for, he didn't ball, so it's not like he really burned me. But then
Right.
he had favorable matchups in the playoffs, and then that's when the eventual champion picked him up and played him. So
Well, we got some games on Sunday, and according to my ESPN, the top 10 a.m. we got 49ers and Steelers. Quick thoughts on that. What do you guys think?
well,
I think it's a scrappy game.
I
It's going
think
to be a
so,
very
too.
physical game.
Yeah.
It's going to be low scoring. I don't know if the spread. No, I
Two and a
think
half.
the spread's 2.5.
2.5 in favor of the Niners. It was 3, now it's 2.5.
Oh yeah, I could see it. I could see them winning by like a field goal. I feel like they're gonna win by more than a field goal because like the Steelers defense is pretty solid, but I feel like the Niners are just gonna come out hard.
Yeah, well, let me tell you what I think, and we got a couple minutes on this before we got to move on to the next one. But I think it's a really scrappy game, like you said. I think it's a tight one, but I think it's going to be a 27-24 win for the Niners. I see them edging it out, kind of just barely winning it. I don't think Bosa is going to play a lot if he is there.
Yeah,
And I think that is a major hit to the defense, as we all know. And I think that we just see a little bit. I mean, Steelers are historically a tough team to play against, and their defense is really scrappy. They muck up the passing game, so I could see Purdy having a little bit of rest coming into the year. Maybe the offense doesn't get off to the greatest start, but I think that their talent overall outweighs what the Steelers can offer. But I think it's a close game, but I do think they get the win.
23-21 Niners. I think they win. I don't think they cover the spread though. Vegas knows. 23-21.
Yeah.
Vegas. If you learned anything today, it's that
Yeah,
Vegas
I
knows.
was gonna say, name a more iconic pairing than Scanny and Believing in Vegas.
Vegas, hey, see you Sunday.
It's not a bad pairing.
Not bad at all.
You got a score? Did you already say a score? Fancy?
No, I didn't.
Good one.
It'll be pretty similar. I would say, I would say 21-24 Niners.
Alrighty.
Yeah,
Cool.
24-20. Yeah.
Well, when we come back, we will touch on the next ones.
I feel like we're still in episode 1, but we still got more shit to talk about.
I know.
We can make this one long ass episode.
This is Backyard Dynasty.